Hey.
Hey. Whoa. Are we on a UFO?
No, I have my little pocket piano, and I'm excited about the fact that it's fall and spooky time. So I hooked up my keyboard and made a spooky chord. Because I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
that it's September.
Fun, actually.
Here's another version.
Like those little, hey. Yeah, that's great, man. Next lowercase album. Just all that.
Sawtooth diminished chords. Yep. So I just wanted to do that. I went downstairs a little bit ago to get a beer, and a bat flew by. And I was like, this is so awesome. Because it's starting to feel like fall, and they got bats flying around, and it's great. New horror movies on Netflix today, because it's September 1st.
Was it a recycle bat?
Yeah,
Okay, good. I thought that was actually a joke, and then you were going to do a sound effect about a bat.
Oh, no,
there was actually a bat.
That really happened just now.
Hey, Andy, we've got James on the show.
Hey, James.
Hey,
James,
Andy.
you can...
How's it going? Hey, I just want to say I'm glad that it's turning into fall as well.
Yeah.
I can wear jeans and not hate my life. It's a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of jealous of how nice both of you boys' voices are.
Yeah.
James, you guys both have radio voices, and
we talk
awesome.
each other to sleep most nights. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
Right. James actually has a history in radio.
I do.
But we'll get to that later on Ink and Echo.
Hey, spoiler. No, not spoiler. Teaser. That's what those are called.
Yeah.
We could spoil it, but we won't.
I will do a impersonation of a radio guy later. I'll do my traffic thing. You know my traffic thing? Have you heard my traffic thing?
I have. It's good. Yeah.
Well,
you should do it.
Keep listening, because that's coming, folks. Just wait.
Man, this is so good. Hey, I just wanted to say we've had 2 guests on now, and I feel like we were kind of asses to them because we didn't. I feel like a good interviewer would end and be like, so, what website do you want people to go to? Where can people find this thing that you just talked about? We haven't done that at all.
Well, we're new to this, Andy. We're still learning.
I know, but I'm saying, Alex Sugg was on last week, and he just released his new podcast, and you should go to alexsugg.com and find his podcast, SUGG being the last name, because it's good, and I feel bad for not saying that last week. And I don't know if Trevor has anything. Maybe you could say, I don't even know.
He does. It's trevormerchant.com, but that's Trevor spelled TREVR.
All right.
Merchant, MERCHANT.com, and it's his filmmaker's reel, his director of photography reel, which is very pretty and genuinely impressive.
Good. I just and James, if you have a website, let us know after the show, and we'll talk about it next week.
Sure, you got it.
Yeah, we'll just be a week behind. I had an idea that I was almost going to tweet. Now I'm just going to say this actually isn't even one of my planned things, but I had this genius idea for a tweet. I already don't like where this is going, but it's like, what if there was a silly joke that I made, Andy, where
is this the tweet?
Yeah.
Or you're setting it up still?
Setting it up.
Okay.
Where I was like, hey guys, we're going to start pressing our episodes to vinyl. You'll hear them in 6 months or something like that. And then the Twitter sphere would, I think, bow down to me because of my greatness and hilarity.
I would.
That's it. That's it.
You might get some retweets.
No.
On that. Oh.
See, I didn't. See how flat it's falling? I mean, all our listeners are obviously falling out of their chairs on the bus, cracking up because they're like, Dr. Gaines, we just love you. We're going to make homemade Dr. Gaines t-shirts. Okay, I actually do have something serious after that terrible, stupid joke.
I thought that was great.
But it's an interesting thought, right? It's because vinyl is in such big demand that
podcasts
the lead
on vinyl.
The lead times are absurdly long. Man, I'm clever. Andy, listen. After our little debacle last episode, and after actually listening to Levi the Poet's episode with Alex, Open Air on iTunes.
Uh-huh.
I honestly really enjoyed that talk. Sorry, James, you haven't heard this, so you don't know what I'm talking about.
Which one, ours or theirs?
Theirs.
Yeah.
Levi and Alex's conversation, and made me think about your talk on last episode about how the things that you don't want to talk about and that you addressed, and this sort of how you've worked hard to build a, what is the term, like a persona or a version of yourself that you put out, and a version of the part of yourself that you keep hidden, as far as public sphere and your fans and stuff. And I was just thinking, after listening to Levi, that I actually think that your method, or the way you described it, that what I understood you to be saying, would almost take more effort and end up like crumbling in the long run than you just kind of being more upfront about where you actually are. And I don't mean you have to share a bunch of things, but just I don't know, just not be so hidden about it. Like be where you're at. And I think,
well, I don't think being hidden is the way I'd put it. I'd say, and I think I disagree with you in the sense that it's harder, because there are only a small amount of things that I care about putting out there in the world, you know?
Oh, sure.
And so it's just a matter of not, like, here's the thing I don't want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it. And this podcast is different because it's our personalities and whatever. But when it comes to, like, you know, I've had these conversations with Levi specifically too about, you know, on my Facebook page, which is dedicated to my music, like, in my mind, I'm only going to share music there. I'm not going to share my opinions on anything other than that, you know?
Sure. I'm with you on that.
And it's harder for Levi because it's harder for anyone who's doing any type of lyrical work in their music, and I'm not, you know, so I can put instrumental music out there. I don't feel like I need to say it's this or say it's not this. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, this podcast, things are just going to be what they're going to be, and that's fine. And it kind of goes back to what I've said before in terms of in an ideal world, I would be presenting people this creative output that I've made, and they would receive it or not, and they would not make any other assumptions about who I am or what I do based on the music. I mean, based on this podcast, they can make a few correct assumptions on things I'd say and whatever. But I don't know. Do you know does that make sense? Am I actually disagreeing with you or not? I don't know.
A little bit.
Okay.
That's okay. I think I'm just saying, like, yeah, this show is what it is, but because of who I am, and because sort of how vulnerable I am and how much I like to talk about depth, and that sometimes involves faith, like, I just want to make sure if and when that comes up, you're not gonna either shut down or stop me or be argumentative.
No, not at all.
Well, you can be argumentative, actually, that's fine. But I just want to make sure you're okay with it going there.
Oh yeah, no, and I listened back to the last episode, and I told you, I said I feel like I was an ass because you brought up stuff personal to Alex and yourself, which is, I mean, completely reasonable. And I kind of brought it to a place where I ended up talking about an institution that I have problems with. And it's like I didn't need to go there, necessarily. Yeah. And we were just talking about different things that didn't, and I think we would actually both agree with what we were actually saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, in the moment, it definitely felt like we were being really defensive and at each other's throats a little bit. But listening back, it was like, no, I pretty much agreed with everything you had to say.
And I feel the same way about you.
Yeah.
So whatever.
James, Andy, and I are just doing some relationship work here. It's fine.
You guys just kiss and let's call it good.
So on that note,
am I allowed to make beer drinking noises, or do I have to be quiet?
Andy, you'll have to cut it all out. Yes, of course you can.
Andy,
Josh just doesn't like when you burp into a mic.
I won't burp, but like if you hear me drinking a little bit, is that going to be a problem?
Oh hell yeah!
Well, fine.
Come
and he has
on.
a special software that takes out liquid noises. It just zaps him, so he doesn't have to deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So on that note of what I just said, talk about vulnerable. I'm about to go hard on the vulnerable part, and I'm actually a little nervous.
Okay.
But I feel compelled to talk about this, and I have been thinking about it for a while. So this might make you guys uncomfortable, might make our listeners uncomfortable. Hey,
I'll turn off my mic. I'm going to stop listening for a few minutes and I'll come back.
And he just goes away and comes back, and like James and I are crying, and we're just
Or I'll just do this every once in a while.
to lighten the mood. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So this podcast and the fact that I'm making a movie, I would say are some of the most exciting things that have ever happened to me. And I'm totally being serious. I'm so glad this show is finally getting off the ground, and I'm so excited to finally get to make a movie. And what amplifies that is even the fact that after probably October of last year, I had such a creative absolute dead zone where I just I wrongly felt worthless, and like I just could not get anything out. I couldn't write. I was struggling with getting my next book idea. Just even when I had the free time to be creative, I could not bring myself to do it. So all that to say, there was like this big dry period, and now these very cool things are happening. And all of a sudden, I've noticed over the past few weeks, I am in the midst of so much goodness and blessing. I am like flipping around and essentially self-destructing a bit. And what that translates to is just definitely drinking too much again. And, I kind of had a period of that previously, and then got it under control and just been doing that again, fallen back into pornography. And even this might sound flippant, but like eating badly, eating crap food and eating too much of it. And to some of our listeners, those things might sound like not a big deal, but there's just a noticeable thing that I'm doing right now that's like so many good things are happening, and it's almost like I'm trying to fuck it up for no reason, just because it's scary in a way. There has been a lot of anxiety, even with the good things that are going on. But I just, I don't know, recognize that I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why on earth I should be, quote unquote, my healthiest, with good things going on. And yet it's almost like I'm trying to break it. And I just know, I recognize so clearly that all of this shit is not what I need. It's not satisfying. It's not helpful. And it just, it leaves me feeling wrecked and horrific. And, there is a lot of like beating myself up over it, which that's not helpful either. That's not a good way to deal with it. But, I recognize I'm not my best self right now, and I really want to get that under control. Yeah. And I mean, partly because I hope that this is only the first step in a number of things that, like career-wise, of better things that will come because of this show, because of this movie. And so it's like, as things amplify, as things get bigger and bigger, if they do, I am going to need to be more and more grounded in my faith as a person, with my family, as things get bigger, or I'm just going to have more opportunity to like do worse, destructive things. And so, yeah, that's my spiel. What do you guys think about that?
Do you really see it as like a purely just destructive force, just to be destructive, or do you see it as, potentially more nuanced in the sense that, like, like there's these things going on, and there's, like you said, exciting things, but there's just more to think about. There's more weight. I mean, obviously with the movie, there's so much on you to get it done, and multiple people involved. And with this, it's I don't really know what we're doing here, but there's basically what I'm saying is, do you see it as a way to try to shut down some anxiety of just looking into the future? Is that a thing that you would say yes or no, as opposed, and I'm not saying it's not just like a purely being self-destructive for destructive sake. Maybe that's how it's manifesting itself. Does that make sense? Does that sound like could be or not?
I think that's certainly a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, and you can say more in a sec. I think part of it too is in the midst of a lot of, because granted, these things have been a lot more work and stress. And I think in the midst of stress and anxiety, I want to frankly feel good. I want like a quick fix of pleasure or satisfaction. And yet it's like I'm taking good things and taking them to the extreme. The exception being pornography. I don't think there's a good setting for that at all.
Right.
But food and alcohol, things that should be enjoyed, I'm like using them to cope.
Sure.
Sort of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you say you want to get it under control, but like what?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts now for how you're going to do that?
Yeah, just, setting better boundaries for myself and setting better habits for myself. And another element to all this, not to just keep dragging it out, but is that I am, Emmy and I should say, are fairly alone right now in terms of a community of people. Like whether, normally that would be in the context of a church, and we're just really not connected to one right now. There's very few people in our lives in Denver who I could even talk to about this.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember where I was going with that, but just, I guess that in another time of life, if I was surrounded by other people, this perhaps would not be happening. And I'd have a little more like truth spoken to me, or at least people to bounce it off of and like tell me that I'm not crazy and, encourage me or whatever. So just, I think a part of it is making a better effort to get myself and my wife and family around people again. Doesn't have to be Christians. I just mean, we just need time. Friends, basically, is the simplest way to put it, because we just feel so isolated. And when you're just by yourself all the time, that can really perpetuate some negative thoughts and actions. And even this, in a way, is just like saying it out loud, I think takes some of the power out of it.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's just like, I recognize this in myself. I want to say how untrue I think it is and how negative and like how I want it gone.
Yeah. Well, and not even just that, it's that there's good things happening and you want to hold them more fully,
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't this good stuff going on, you might potentially be like, well, why try to fix this, kind of? Or at least that's maybe where my mind would go, in a dark spot. But it's probably
a little more jaded about it.
Yeah, it's probably helpful to be like, well, of course there's your family and your friends and whatever, but it's like, I really want to do the best I can on this movie. I want to do the best I can on this podcast. And it's like obvious that these things are really hindering those things. So that's gotta help. And it's cool that you're saying it in front of all our, hundreds of thousands of listeners.
And Andy, I said all that just to tell you that today we're sponsored by Wheaties. No, that was. So that's that. We can move on.
Okay.
Unless you had any other thoughts, James. Any thoughts?
James, I want you to just reach your hand out and just hold his shoulder. Just give him a pat.
I'm doing that.
He's really doing it.
Really doing it.
Okay, now do the other arm and the other shoulder, and that one's from me.
It's too far away. Oh wait, here we go. He moved. Yep. All right. One.
Thanks, Andy.
Yep.
Needed that.
This is so
little
good.
shoulder squeeze.
I actually do. I can chime in a little bit. Am I loud? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't do my loudest voice during the check. They told me to be as loud as I would be, and then I wasn't.
That was
you
a
never
joke.
are. Yeah, because you get all the adrenaline once you actually start recording. You know? We recorded some music at the church that I work at, Park Church, a few years ago. We put Psalm 32 to music, and the chunk of verses that I picked was verses 3 through 5, which say, "For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. Through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. I acknowledged my sins to you. I did not cover my iniquity. I said I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and he forgave the iniquity of my sin." So I still have that memorized because I put it to music. But I recorded it because I have the same tendency, which is just to not, like, to keep silent. And then that stuff, like, really does eat away at you. Right. But like you said, I think there is a power whenever you just say it. Like, it takes some of that power away.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm doing this stupid thing. And if I just say it to somebody, maybe I'll realize that it's this stupid thing that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the thing that you got to figure out, like, you got two good things going. You got a podcast, you got a movie, right? You want those things to go well. And so you're feeling like the pressure of, like, what if they don't go well? And that's how you're dealing with it. But let's say that you're in a dry spell where you're like, I have no creative output. How are you going to deal with the anxiety around that?
Yeah.
So you have to deal with the idol. You have to deal with, like, what you love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, so you've recognized this. I go to booze or I go to food or I go to whatever whenever I don't feel okay.
Right.
And so you have to figure out, how can I feel okay no matter what's going on in my life? Right. And you know all that.
Sure.
Just
but no, that's a constant thought. Yeah.
Right.
Is being content when there's nothing going on.
And it's a question of identity. Like, where am I finding my identity?
Yeah.
Is it in the things that I do, or is it for us, I'd say in Jesus? So then that divorces it from the things that we do. We can just find identity in him. So anyway, I don't want to preach a sermon over here, but it's just something that came to mind.
Yeah. That brings it back around to Wheaties. Because we need that strength in the morning. Am I right?
I find my identity in breakfast. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
So I just want to clarify, if this podcast fails and if my movie sucks, it means I'm not valid as a person, right? I mean, it means I should just go and kill myself.
We can all agree on that.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Andy, what do you got? That was a whole lot of me talking.
What do I got? Oh, this sounds so stupid compared to what you just said. No, I wanted to potentially talk about, I did mention it a little bit at the beginning, but why fall and the Halloween holiday season is, like, way better than Christmas time. Because
let's hear it.
The more I think about it, the more I think it's so true. Okay. So for one, personally, my preference is the movies are way better. I think September and watching some horror movies is just, like, so fun.
What's your favorite horror movie?
I don't know if I have a favorite one yet. I'm still last year I started going back through, being the old man that I am now, I have memories of walking through Blockbuster or the VHS part of Albertsons.
Oh yeah.
And seeing covers and be like, oh my gosh, that looks crazy. And so I've been going back and watching all of those movies that I couldn't watch ever. So, like, I watched the first couple Chucky movies, which were not nearly as scary as they seemed from the cover or whatever. To answer your question though, I don't know. I'm still
all movies are the same to Andy. It's just content to him. He's just
content.
Like, just
I'm
washes
just trying
over
to
him. And
that's how I deal with my troubles. I just pour some content in
more
the old
content.
Okay, no.
Nice big picture of content.
I'm just not a big horror guy, so I was trying to, if you could point me in any directions. I mean, I just watched Stranger Things. I know that's not horror, but it was kind of sci-fi-ish, and it was really fun.
It was like a big, long X-Files episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. That's what this is for. I really, really like Evil Dead 2. I said it last week, but just because of the absurdity comedy aspect in relation to all the insanity, I think it's so great.
Nice. Okay, there you go. I can watch that.
All right, so movies. One, weather, at least here, it's just so nice in the fall here in New Mexico. 3, all the great beers are coming back around. So we're getting Oktoberfests and we're getting some of the Russian Imperial Stouts.
Tell me you're not into pumpkin beers.
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
No, but
I've never had one that tasted good.
No,
Even though
I
I
don't
like pumpkin things.
Yeah, I don't like pumpkin beers. And actually, my favorite brewery here, La Cumbre, they normally do a pumpkin beer. And I was talking to the head brewer the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that this year because we all hate it. It's the only beer we all hate." So even the beer people don't like pumpkin beers. What else was I going to say? Okay, no real family gatherings because
Hey.
that's nice. And no having to give people presents. So just, I mean, family gatherings are nice and whatever, but it's just like Christmas time is the most stressful time in so many people's lives, which I just think is so stupid. So Halloween is just fun. There's no pressure. The weather's great. It's fun movies on. People dressed up like scary things. It's great. Better than Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's my case for Halloween.
Do your kids trick or treat? Or have they? I mean, are you open to it?
Yeah, I'm open to it. They last year I was out of town for some reason, but they went to the zoo on Halloween, which was pretty fun. It seemed like we don't live where there's like neighbors to trick or treat, so we'd have to go somewhere to do it.
Yeah, that'd be a long walk for trick or treaters in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and we'd be able to hit like 3 houses in like 45 minutes. Has Olive done that? What are you going to do this year with Olive?
Don't know, but yeah, she's going. I mean, last year I ate all the candy because she was 1 year old, and so
you could use that as another case for Halloween too. Is the candy
until she's like 14? Yeah, I'll keep eating the candy because she's too little for it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So I don't. Anyone want to argue with me on that? We could all agree and move on.
No, Andy, we all love fall. Real original.
Wow.
No, that was great. It made me actually excited for the upcoming season. Here in Denver, we have 3 months of super hot and then winter that never ends.
Yeah.
And traffic. So
what's it going to be like?
Positive outlook.
I'm going to be in your home in a week. What's the weather going to be like there?
It's going to be great, probably.
Nice.
It's pretty nice right now.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're going to see 3/4 of Rage Against the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
And some rapper guys that I don't know or care about. But
But
they'll be there singing the old hits.
Do that. Man, that's what we're doing now. That's how old we are. I'm so
I have
excited,
77 next Friday.
77 degrees, Andy.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
And some rain.
Get out your short shorts.
What about Wednesday? That's when I'm going to be there.
Oh, you're going to be there Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me. This is good stuff. Give me the daily weather.
Let's just start doing a weather portion.
For all of our older listeners in the Denver
here's
metro
the weather
area.
Oh, damn it. There. Go ahead with your weather.
Wednesday, a high of 84 and a low of 55.
84?
Yeah.
Damn it.
And it's sunny. I know. Well, just
James,
sunny.
how's it going to be on the old ball field for our local sports team this week?
You know, our sports team is actually playing tonight.
I was trying to get you to do more of your anchor voice.
Oh, got it.
And making fun of the fact that Andy and I do not know sports at all.
Yeah.
Well, let me say, I've been watching football and I enjoy watching it, but I have no idea anything about it. Like I don't. Well, I know it works. I just don't know like players or stats or that kind of thing. Like my brother-in-law asked me to be on a fantasy league because he heard I've been watching this season. I was like, I know nothing. Like John Elway used to be the Denver quarterback a long time ago.
Correct.
Yeah, that last year I think was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he retired
year, right?
very recently. But I really enjoy watching it, which I don't know if it's not cool for musicians to like sports apparently or something. But and plus I can turn the TV on and the kids get really bored with it and they don't actually watch it, so I don't feel bad about the TV being on. So there's that.
Andy, next you're going to be like, I was just watching the golf tournament and
yeah,
I guess I ran out of steam on that joke.
Well, and then next I'm going to be like, I just bought a bass fishing boat and a Bass Pro Shops hat. That's going to be me. And I'm going to have UFC parties at my house.
That's for the youngins. Hey, Andy. I'm sick of all this talking. I'm ready to hear from our ad sponsor
all right, here
of
we
the
go.
week. I want to be sold a product.
Well, You just wait, buddy. Okay. All right. You know what, Josh and James, both of you.
What? Tell us.
Well, let me tell you what I love, first of all. I love when companies find solutions to huge problems in my life. There's nothing better than that, right?
It's so helpful.
Yeah, and
companies.
I know you guys probably understand, one thing that's really huge, a big part of my family life is we love hanging cups of sugar water on our porch. We just love those sugar waters hanging there.
Amen.
Yeah, but as all of us sugar water hangers know, there's these fucking little birds that come around and try to drink it. The hummingbirds, you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen those birds.
Yep.
They want to drink all my sugar water on my porch, and I'm tired of it. But you know what? We are here to talk about Hummer hangers today, and what they've got for us. So, here's what they've done, Josh. Picture this. Picture a little. It's a gun. Okay, spring-loaded gun with the same sort of mechanism that's in like a staple gun. So they've taken that technology, put it into gun form, and what they've done is that they've allowed you to use this item that's just all over my house. So, guys, what are some things that are just all over your house right now?
Dog hair.
Dog hair. Okay, won't work in a gun. What about you, Josh?
Kids' toys, baby toys.
Yeah, I mean, if we could launch baby toys, that'd be awesome. But you know what I have all over my house is sewing needles. They're just everywhere. They're getting in my clothes. They're in the dryer. I put my underwear on and it pokes me in the area. All right, but what these guys have done, they've made this amazing proprietary system where you can load any type of sewing needle you have into this gun, and you can sit on your porch and you can shoot these damn hummingbirds, and they will stick to wherever you're hanging your sugar water. So not only do you get rid of those pesky birds trying to drink your sugar water that you're hanging out that you love to enjoy with your family, but imagine this beautiful collage of dead, tiny, colorful birds that you've pinned to the top of your porch. Can you imagine that?
That is poetic in its beauty.
I know.
Bird by bird, you could almost say.
Ooh. Little and the mott there.
Uh-huh. So,
Nice.
like I said, I'm just excited when someone comes along and just solves a problem that has not been solved before.
Hey, entrepreneurs, they scratch their own itch,
It's amazing, and so what you guys need to do is just go to inkandecho.com/hummerhangers and you will get all the info you need on that. And I think there's a code. Who knows? It doesn't matter at this point.
I'm scrambling to go to that site right now.
Yeah, well, don't use your bandwidth right now because we have to record this show. But yeah, inkandecho.com/hummerhangers to learn more. Thanks, Hummer Hangers.
Andy, I'd say a good way to begin with our friend James is to reminisce about the time that he called you Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in my backyard. Do you remember that, Andy?
Do I remember it? Yeah.
Okay, good.
I remember. That was for your book release party.
Yes, it was.
And it was a good time.
And Andy had consumed a number of adult beverages, and it was a little chilly out, so his nose was...
It was the chilliness, and my nose is large. So that's the science behind it.
But yeah, we were standing around having a conversation. This is for our listeners, guys. I'm just telling them what happened.
Uh-huh.
And, just shooting the breeze. And then James kind of looks over at Andy from across the circle, just points at him and goes, "You look like Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer right now." Except 1,000 times deeper than that.
Yeah.
That's all there is. But
That's it.
James, what in the hell would you call yourself? What are you?
What am I?
Yeah.
A human.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Let's go deeper. What type of human?
male, white.
We got a lot of those around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let me tell you something.
What do you mean? What am I? What is that question?
I know. I was just being rude.
It's like
being silly.
Getting interviewed by Albert Camus. I mean, what is this?
Yeah.
That was probably a funny reference. I don't know what it is though.
He wrote The Stranger, an old French author.
Okay.
Lots of existential stuff. Man, I'm so smart. James, so you've done writing in your past.
Yep.
Some autobiographical work. You've done some music.
Yep.
Still do music.
Yep.
In a different capacity. You work for a church. Okay, I know. So this is something that's interesting to me.
Okay.
You are probably one of the most comfortable, laid back people that I know. And that is not to say like a lazy kind of laid back.
Okay.
I mean, I would have a hard time seeing you get upset or stressed, because you seem to go through life like fairly unconcerned and pretty, like generally pretty happy about everything. Would you say that's true?
I would. The last part, I don't know about that.
Maybe not happy, but content and
Sure.
unconcerned.
Content is probably a better word than happy.
Okay.
I had a really even-keeled dad. My dad grew up in a home with an alcoholic father, and so he was kind of the peacemaker in that home. So he had to learn how to like not let his emotions get the best of him when he's picking up his dad from jail, and his mom is like saying, "I'm going to kick you out of the house if you do that again." And
right. Was he the oldest?
No, he was the middle child, or he was the youngest child.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, really even-keeled dad who was like really gracious with me, really patient, and not affected by a lot of things. So I learned that from him. I think it can be a strength. I think it can also be a weakness. Because whenever you don't tap into your emotions ever, then you just learn to shut down in confrontation. So I'm like 2 years into being married, or I'm 4 years into being married, but the story I'm telling, I was 2 years into being married. And I hear this guy talk, and he's talking about how like if his wife asked him, "What did you do today?" he could answer that question all day long. Because he was like a achievement guy, you know. So I did this, I did this, I did this.
Right.
If she said, "How'd you feel today?" he was like, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
Like to the point to where she like made an emotions wheel for him, and she'd be like, just try to point at something on the wheel, you know. And he called me out at the beginning of the session, not me specifically, but he was like, "There's some guys in here who aren't going to listen to me. You're going to be working in the back. You're going to be checking email. You don't think you need to listen to what I have to say today." And he's like, "Shut your computers and listen to me." And he was like, if you don't tap into your emotions, you essentially just have a female roommate. Like you're not actually sharing life with your wife if you don't tap into your emotions. So I'm like, okay, shit, I got to tap into my emotions, you know?
So it hadn't even occurred to you to do that?
No.
Wow.
No.
Well, what does that mean to not tap into your emotions? Really?
So somebody gets upset and I just kind of, not shut down. Maybe I did shut down. I don't know. It just meant that I was like, okay, you're angry right now. Huh. Let's figure out why that's going on, you know?
Yeah, more problem solving than like feeling something, I guess.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Let's deal with the situation in front of us. But okay, so fast forward 2 weeks. It's my birthday. I don't like birthdays. I don't like to make a big deal out of them. My wife loves making a big deal out of them. That's just family differences, how we're brought up. And so all day, man, she's texting me. She's like, you know, I want to do something for you. I want to get you something. What are you doing? You know? And by the end of the day, we get home and I'm just ticked. I'm like, today has sucked because you've just been bugging me all day about the thing that I asked you not to bug me about. Right. And I'm like, oh yeah, the emotions thing. Like this is where I'm supposed to tap into my emotions, you know? So I'm in the kitchen, like putting the dishes away and I'm just slamming drawers and I'm like throwing glasses around. I'm like, you remember how I said I was going to show you emotions? Here they are, baby. You know, like, I hope you like them. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was like a pretty brutal fight. And then we went to bed that night and we weren't really talking to each other and we laid there for a little bit. And I was like, okay, that was attempt number one at me showing some emotions. And I did a really, really terrible job at it. And I'm sorry about that. And I want to get better at it. So yes, I do think I am even keeled and somewhat unconcerned, but I've learned how to tap into that other side, you know?
Yeah. I could see that being an incredible asset. Yeah. Like in a job scenario for sure. Or dealing with people, especially.
Right. Or dealing with like an emergency, like someone's arm just got broken or something, and like not being able to like, not freaking out, not being able to take like, okay, here's what we got to do. Not being affected in that situation sounds incredibly valuable. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so this sort of is related, but it's interesting to me that, because we've talked about this before, like you have done creative things in the past, like writing and like music, and most people I know who do those things feel a compulsion to always be doing them to some degree.
Yeah.
And my perception is you did them, you were happy with them, and now you're kind of just like, okay, you're okay with not, like, what's the next thing? What's my next music project? And that I totally don't get. Like, how can you have the creative element and also not be too worried about the next?
Totally. I had like a really easy life growing up. I started writing music when I was 15, and it was your classic, like high school stuff. Like, I had this song called "Living Contradiction," which is just like, I don't even need to say anymore.
Right.
Like,
like what was your band name? Was there a band name?
So what was it? The first band name was Two Returned, I want to say, which is a reference to a biblical story about two guys returning and saying that we should take the land.
Was it the number 2?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I think it was like James Lepine and the Outliers. No. It had something to do with Camus. Not Stranger Than Fiction. Anyway, whatever. I can't remember. It was something really lame. Okay. Yeah, it was like something like pseudo philosophical. So anyway, started writing songs when I was 15, but I think in college, I read Fight Club right before college. And this is like even more cliche, but whatever. This concept of hitting rock bottom became really, really attractive to me.
Yeah.
I think because I'd had such an easy life. So
wait, attractive in the like, that was something you wanted to experience, or just like that's interesting in other people?
No, it was like I got to do that.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. Like in order to like for my life to have any meaning, I need to hit complete rock bottom first, and then rise up from the ashes.
And, and was it also kind of an artistic thing? Like it'd be really cool. I could write more Living Contradiction songs, even better, dude. if I was down there.
Yes, exactly. I felt like every biography that I read about a musician that I admired, like I remember sitting I was sitting in this radio station in college reading about Rufus Wainwright, and he got raped in Hyde Park in London when he was like 11.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. That was when he hit rock bottom. And that's why he's this amazing artist that he is today. He had this really painful experience. He came back from it. He had something to say. Yeah. I just felt like I didn't have anything to say, Sure.
Man, yeah.
So it's like a really privileged thing to go like, oh, I should try to ruin my life so that I have something to say.
See, and I kind of... No, it's crazy. It's crazy you're saying, because I feel like I feel that a little bit too. Like my life is way easy, and it does two things. One, it makes me feel scared in the sense that all this, I've built up too much goodness and I've used it all up, and it's all going to go to shit like as soon as possible, any minute now. And two, the same thing, like to use another example, like Levi the poet, the whole, and I don't want to go into the whole thing about his dad committing suicide. Like that's horrible, terrible, but I feel like he learned so much coming out of that situation, and I'm like, I don't want something like that to happen to me, but I'd love to be able to learn things that people learn in those situations, but not have to go through them. Does that? Which I don't know if that exists, and so it's like, so I understand that like 100%. Wanting something terrible to happen or be at the bottom makes sense to me.
Yeah. So kind of coming back around to just, why do you think that sort of pressure or compulsion does not exist in you to constantly be making something?
Yeah.
Even though you like to do it, it seems like, or at one time you did.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's where we're going with it. So whenever I wanted to do the rock bottom thing, college was a lot of like drinking and dating a lot of different girls. And, like I'd get the thing that you were talking about, you get a good thing going. The woman that I'm married to now, we dated off and on since I was 16, and I'd get her back, and then I'd like drink too much and make out with another girl. It's like I'd totally ruin the thing that I wanted. And then I'd spend the next 6 months trying to get her back. And then it would either she'd do something or I'd do something and it would implode again. So I think that I found a lot of creative juice through like all this dramatic stuff happening in my life.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, she came home from college. She had just graduated, and we hadn't talked in 3 months. And she wrote me this email apologizing for stuff. And we met up and we had a beer. And then next thing I know, she's like, "Will you move to Denver? I'm moving to Denver to go to Denver Seminary." And I was like, I mean, if you won't break up with me, I will move. I don't really care. Like, I'll move anywhere, you know? I want to be with you. So I moved to Denver, asked her to marry me. And the drama hasn't subsided. Like, life isn't perfect now, but I'm not seeking it out.
Yeah.
I just don't have a reason to. And I think some of the inspiration has left me with that.
Well, I was going to say, is your art or your creativity tied to the drama?
I think so.
Okay.
And I kind of hate admitting that.
Yeah.
Like I can't be very creative without something dramatic happening.
No, it makes sense because that's kind of how you cultivated it in a way.
It was a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I'd break up with a girl and then write a song about it, and I felt better if I could play the song with my band, you know?
Right.
So actually, sometimes when we fight, when EA and I fight, my wife's name is Elizabeth Ann, she goes by EA. I'll be like, we'll be in the middle of it, I'm like, "Hey, can I just get 15 minutes at the piano?" And I think that's where it still comes out, is I'll try to like work something out on the piano, you know? But it's kind of weird because our house is small. So like I'm trying to sing about the thing that we're fighting about. I'm like trying to figure it out in my head, and I know that she can probably hear me.
So you literally like in the middle of a fight will just like stop and sing a little tune on the piano?
I'll be like, yeah. I'll be like, can I just
funny.
get a little time by myself to like try to think about what we're fighting about?
I love that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Wait, so
it still comes. Yeah.
I was going to say, could you go back and just like what creative things have you done? Because you mentioned writing, which I had no idea. I knew you did music stuff, but I didn't know you did writing. Like what was that stuff?
Mm-hmm. So I have a novella, I guess you'd call it, called Paradox Point. I love my titles. Saying them out loud. PP, exactly. Yeah, PP for short.
Just insult our guests, Andy.
Well,
That's
no,
great.
I love it, dude.
It was funny.
He called me Rudolph, so I'm going to call his poem PP. Okay, now we're even.
You've been waiting for this moment for like a year. Yeah. So I did a semester abroad, and what that means is like there's this national student exchange, and my top option was New York, and my second option was Seattle, and then my third option was Oklahoma, and I got sent to Oklahoma.
Why Oklahoma?
I have some family there. It was like they told me you're going to get one of your top two options, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell? Put Oklahoma on me." And then I got Oklahoma, so I had to spend a semester at Oklahoma State in Stillwater, and that was just a really weird semester. I didn't really know a lot of people, and I was by myself in a 1-bedroom dorm, and so I had some interesting experiences there, and wrote. I took all of them and like forced them into 1 week and did like 1 week of what happened while I was at Oklahoma State University. So that was writing project number 1, and then number 2 was after I graduated college. I got a DUI like the week before I graduated college.
At what age?
21.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I know you've told me. I was just curious because it was pretty young.
And that's an interesting story in and of itself. I'm like pretty embarrassed that happened, and I'm not proud of it at all. But the reason why I think it happened is pretty interesting. But so I get this DUI, and then I graduate college, and I wanted to travel right after college, but then I couldn't drive. So I took a Greyhound bus trip around a lot of the United States and just stayed with friends and family. And wrote about what happened on that trip. So that's called The Trip of a Life. And that's the other writing project.
That's the sort of thing that I would say Andy and I have both day dreamt about doing.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Dude, it was amazing. It
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah.
I had people falling asleep on my shoulder in like Bloomington, Indiana. Is that a place?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And like I had quit smoking before that trip, and then everybody gets out of the Greyhound bus and smokes.
Oh, you've gotta.
And I had to. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
I like tried to fake myself into thinking that I was going to smoke a pipe on that trip. No, man. I was right back to the cigs.
Yeah.
Those are the two writing projects.
And
Yeah.
what? So you were 20. Well, when did you write him? Or like how long ago was this?
Yeah, 20 and 22.
Well, and so when you do these, what was it like, oh, now that I've written these, I'm going to try to get it published? Or was it just, hey, I needed to write that and then I wrote it and now it's done? Like, what did you do with them?
Yeah, I put them online. I think they're on Kindle.
At least Paradox Point is Trip
okay.
of a Life. I was not able to find,
Oh,
but you
okay.
did give it to me.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
probably emailed you.
Yeah.
Just the file. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I wanted to be a writer. I took a writing class my senior year of college, and I was like, I thought about going to that program in Iowa. They have a really good writing program. And I don't know, it didn't pan out. I was a copywriter for a year, and that's sort of where I learned that like I cared less about being creative and cute and more just about being clear.
Huh.
So if my writing can convince someone to do something that I think is good that they wouldn't have otherwise done, I care more about like being persuasive, I guess, in my writing now than I do about being creative, which is weird for me to say. And I think that if I said that, like if I had heard myself doing this podcast 6 years ago, I would be like, that guy is a tool. But
Yeah.
that's where I am, you know? I care a lot more about being clear, just trying to figure out what it is I'm actually trying to say, you know?
Yeah. And the music stuff happened before the writing or no? Or same time?
Well, at least the last band you had was not that long ago, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that was 2010. They were called Both And.
And do you write and sing in the bands that you've been in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I'm thinking because it's kind of similar to Josh. Like, have you sort of distilled down the essence of your creativity in, like, so Josh has done all the things of, you know, and landed to a spot where he's like, I'm purely just writing down things now, and so maybe what you've landed on, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is just not only, but it seems like more just communicating clearly is what you're about
Exactly.
whatever.
Yep. That's exactly right. If I spend the rest of my life trying to figure out how to be a more clear communicator, I'm okay with that.
And then what was your goal? Like similarly with like what I said about the writing, what was your goal with the music at different points? Was it the same basically?
That's a good question.
Both And was fairly proactive at one time, right? Like where you guys were trying
Wait,
to...
both And was the name of the band?
Right.
Yeah. I've been obsessed with paradoxes for a while. I think most things in life are not either or; they're both and. So there you go.
You were looking for a good tweet, Josh. That was it right there.
Hey,
there you go. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a way of trying to process the things that were happening around me. I don't think there was like a greater purpose to it. I think a lot of my art was like pretty, I hate using this word, but I feel like it's the most, why do I hate using this word? I feel like it was like pretty self-masturbatory, where it was just like, I feel this thing and I need to create something, you know, like it'll like, I don't know. Sometimes when you sit at the piano for a while and you're like, am I just trying to create something that like actually really doesn't matter at all? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, but I feel it's interesting because I feel like that's like the whole thing about art. Which it's fine if that's like not your thing ultimately, but I feel like the power in art is someone sitting down at a piano being like, oh, like this is like, yes, self-masturbatory, sure, totally. But the beauty in art, in my mind, is that the things that come out of when a person is being, I mean, you know, again, completely self-masturbatory can be like totally helpful to potentially millions of people. So that's what's, you want to talk about irony or whatever, again, or paradox, like being completely selfish creatively seems to be what ultimately helps the most people when they experience what you've created. But it's just interesting because it seems like that's the part of it that you kind of have a problem with. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, sure, yeah.
He's got a problem with you, Andy.
Hey.
No, I mean, I remember I wrote a blog post a long time ago, and somebody and like, so that's the thing. Like, somebody says, "Oh, I'm starting a blog," and you're like, "Oh, cool." Like, yeah, I hope your mom enjoys reading it. But then, like, I wrote a blog post, and someone emailed me, and they're like, "Hey, I was about to kill myself, and for some reason, I found your blog post, and I don't want to kill myself anymore."
Yeah,
That's
and I
so
think about that
valuable.
all the time. It's like, it's just as selfish to not create something
yeah,
because you think that you're going to be too selfish while you're creating it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oof.
Ooh, another tweet there.
It's so hard to. I mean, you're exactly right, and yeah, I've had that thought. It's so hard to get around that sometimes because
To push through it.
you just think this. Yeah, either this is so selfish or this is complete shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But then you make it, and then and it helps people, and I totally see the value in that. I would never knock that. I think for me it's just kind of morphed into like, how can I be clear? And you can be clear in art.
Yeah. Well, the thing I was going to point out is both you two, James and Josh, are doing stuff that's very, I mean, having to do with words and ideas specifically, you know, and people doing things and saying things to each other and whatever. Whereas, I mean, what I do and what many other artists do is art that doesn't necessarily have such specific meaning attached to it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I like to live is where I created something that, you know, was selfish. It was what I wanted to create at the time or what I needed to hear at the time. And then I put it out and people can take whatever they want from it. I'm not telling you that it's about this or not about this but with writing and with movies and with, you know, blogs and whatever you are, there is an aspect to it of, well, here was my idea going into it, and if you don't get that, then I sort of failed, maybe.
Right.
That seems like part of it, potentially. I don't know.
So do you think, is that like self-protective on your part? Because there's like no way for you to fail, right? You just create something and then there's like no way for people to take it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would agree. I mean, I think part of the reason I do what I do is purely I've chosen to focus on the things I'm good at and not the things I'm not good at. So singing,
Like writing lyrics.
yes, exactly.
Hey.
No, I'm serious.
You're bad at lyrics.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, I'm just not going to do them, and
Yeah.
so it's purely
When you create a song though, like, is there something? Are you trying to say something to yourself when you're creating it?
I think if I had to try to explain it, it'd be like, here's a feeling I have,
Yeah.
or not even like here's a specific thing I'm going through, but I just like feel this way, and I kind of want to make something that reflects that.
Okay.
Either that, or even I was texting Josh earlier this week about, I showed him a new song I was working on. It's kind of the opposite of how I'm feeling in the sense that I think I wrote a song that sounded like what I wanted to hear to help me. So there's like, it's either here is a 1-to-1, like I feel this way, I want the song to feel this way. It's either that, or it's I feel this way and I want the song I create to be the opposite.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
That's kind of seems where I end up landing on stuff.
A dude I work with talks about like singing from joy or singing for joy. So like if you're singing from joy, I feel this, and so I'm singing because I'm singing from joy. Sometimes you're like, I don't feel any joy at all, so I'm going to sing for joy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what? Are
no,
you
I
talking
think
about that
so.
concept? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
or for whatever emotion it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I think specifically, if I can use your text as an example, Josh, like I sent you a song and you were like, wow, this is cool, but it doesn't really sound like the things I know you're going through. That's kind of what you said, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
And then I just said, yeah, it's weird when when I sit down, I'm writing, for whatever reason, writing what I need to hear and not, not specifically what I'm feeling. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I just am curious about what happens when you're attaching specific ideas and language to the art. That's what's fascinating with both of you, honestly, is because I'm not familiar with that kind of art at all. And it's interesting that you, James, seem to, be, I don't know, just the fact that you're almost moving, you're discovering, you started in a creative place, and with the things you've learned from doing it have taken you almost out of a creative place. Is that unfair to say?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. That's just an interesting trajectory that I don't think I've heard really before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the only similarity that's coming to mind right now is I'm thinking about a song that was on the Both And EP that we put out. It was called Liar. I'm a liar. I'm the biggest liar that I've ever known. It was just like a confessional song. And I think the way that like my output still like crosses over is like in that song, I was trying to help people see, hey, I'm a liar. I'm screwed up. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and that's probably true for you too. And maybe you don't feel comfortable saying that. But hey, let's all just say it. Let's all just admit it. And then maybe we can do something about it.
Yeah.
And I do still feel like the thing that I care probably most about in communication is like, dude, don't BS me. Like,
yeah.
Don't be, I have no time for BSing. Right. Like if you want to sit around and just talk about like, yeah, man, everything's good. And like, me and my wife are good. And work's good. I don't have any time for that. So tell me what's really going on, and then we can talk about that. Yeah. But like Josh, just at the front of this podcast. Yeah, man, I'm drinking too much. I'm eating a bunch of shitty food. I'm looking at porn. It's like, okay, cool. All right. Well, now we can do something about that. Yeah. So I think I used to try to do that with art, and now it's more just like whether it's a conversation or it's a speech or an email or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, how can we help people feel comfortable enough to just, here's what's up with me,
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? No, I'm serious because like
I have a podcast, but
wait, do you really?
Mention it. Yeah, you can mention it next week.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, don't tell us. I won't ask now, but we'll figure it out next week. Wait, that's okay. Cool. I'd love to even just hear your voice more. That's all.
Speaking of which, we haven't done the traffic thing.
No.
Should we just
hold on a second? I want to say something.
You got something? Okay.
That is something for sure. I'm not just tooting your horn here, but something that I have appreciated about James from day one is that he, like me, doesn't do small talk. He shoots straight,
right?
And even in a more bold way, or in a more fearless way than I do. Because when I'm meeting a new person, I'm probably going to be too shy to shoot for what I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
But you're pretty upfront with your questions, and I really like that because that is where I want to be with everybody. Like, I hate small talk, I hate BS,
right?
And have no ability to even exist in that. I don't like parties for that reason because it's just like, okay, where can I find the guy who likes to read a lot and who's like going to tell me what's actually going on in his life? That's who I'd rather talk to,
right?
Than pretend that everything is good. So anyway, just
and it's on a spectrum, I think, because like, so you don't want to be the guy who's at the party and everybody's like, dude, chill out, like yeah, it's okay. And at the
that's been me before, perhaps. Yeah,
right. And at the same time, you don't want to live like a shallow, superficial life.
No.
So I think it's finding people that you're comfortable to open up with. You don't want to do it with just anybody. Like you were talking about at the beginning, Andy, like I'm a little selective about what I share. I think that's good. Like vulnerability to like give yourself to someone and be like, to show them something is like, that's pretty scary.
Well, and maybe to give a little nuance to that is like, I'm very selective about what I share on the internet to people who I have no idea who the hell they are.
Right.
And I think there's like a mental rearranging or shelving of things that has to happen. Like if I was just like out there with everything all the time, like then to the point where it's not any different than when I'm talking to my wife or talking to a good friend. I'm like,
Right.
that doesn't seem healthy to me. So it's like I'm going to reserve probably 80% of myself for
Right.
a small group of people, and I don't feel bad about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. I don't think.
I don't.
Something else that came to mind though is just that is I'm going to say, I mean, the qualities that I'd say the three of us have and that we appreciate about each other is fairly rare in males. Like, guys, that your typical guy does not want to talk about himself, does not want to open up, or maybe even to the point of he's gone through most of his life never even thinking about that shit, thinking about what's wrong with him, or thinking about, is my marriage healthy? Am I not paying attention to what I'm doing at all? I just think at least our generation seems to have grown up in homes that largely shoved that stuff under the rug and was just like, hey, whoa, we don't talk about that. Like, you just, you put on a smile, everything's good. And I didn't mean to turn that about me. I just mean I've never been able to exist in that space. And I don't think any of the three of us have. And I just want to almost like say out loud to guys who are listening to this, like, you don't have to be there. It doesn't have to be that scary because it's more common than you think.
Yeah.
And like, be courageous, like lead out. Even if you're the first person to do it, it's okay.
Well, and I think there's some value to if you're like open up front and the person's just like, oh my God, like, and then like is not your friend anymore, then you're like, well, that's fine. Like, we wouldn't have had a good relationship going forward from there anyway, so it's fine.
Yes.
Like, as opposed to this posturing where you're like, I don't want everybody to be my friend. I want everybody to like me. Like, that's not where I want to be either.
Yeah. On one of my podcast episodes, I can't remember the exact verbiage, but the guest was essentially talking about the gift of like not being surprised. And he was talking about like somebody comes to you and they're like, hey dude, I don't know. I don't care about anybody that I work with, or like, that's not a good example.
I get it.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But your ability to not be like, oh wow, this guy's like, oh man,
and just like shut down immediately.
Right.
You're like, oh wow, I can't believe how awful you are.
I remember one of the first times we hung out, you said something, you confessed something to me, and I was like, okay. And I think maybe you thought I was going to be like, oh wow. I don't know if you thought that. But it was just like, yeah, man, I mean, that's a big deal. We should talk about that. Also, like, okay. As like, people are screwed up, dude. Like, you don't need to like think this is some big deal. Yeah. It is a big deal, but it's not a big deal, right? So anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
To shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about? Well, okay. Well, hold up. First of all, what is your podcast called, and where can people find it?
Yeah,
and I know it's tied to an organization, so to speak.
It is. Yeah. So I work for a church called Park Church. It's the Park Church podcast, and I have authors, speakers, writers. Authors and writers are the same thing.
And you're the host.
I'm the host of the show,
cool.
And so I have them on and ask them questions. Let's see. Our second podcast was with a guy named Wesley Hill, who wrote a book called Washed and Waiting.
Yeah.
And he talks about his experience being a gay celibate Christian. So that was a really, really fun interview. He's super sharp, and his perspective is, I think, really good. And so that's one of the interviews. So yeah, if you search in the iTunes store, for Park Church Podcast, you'll find it.
Right on.
Yeah.
The old PCP podcast. The PCP.
Come on.
Yeah, my novella PP, and then my podcast PCP.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to say anything about Arrowroot?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Actually, let me tell you guys about Latch.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife went to Honduras in college and met a woman who runs a nonprofit, and their nonprofit teaches women in Honduras how to sew and then employs them to make stuff. And so 5 years later, we launched a company called Arrowroot, and my wife would design the dresses. Then we'd ship the fabric down to Honduras, get the dresses made, and then ship them out to our customers. She just started a new company called Latch Dress Company, latchdressco.com. And it's for moms who are nursing and want something that looks good, that's stylish, but also makes it really, really easy for them to nurse modestly in public. And so I've seen her like we were on an airplane a month ago or something, and she's wearing this Latch jumpsuit, and she's feeding our baby on a plane, and it's totally modest, and the baby goes from like crying really hard to completely happy. Right. So talk about companies that solve problems.
Oh yeah.
If you have a crying baby and you need to nurse your baby and you're in public and you want to look good,
well, let them know if they want to sponsor the podcast. Our fees are reasonable.
What a dick!
What? No. Come on.
Will you write me a jingle?
Yeah.
Oh, and Andy will certainly do that.
Okay. Well, we can talk.
So Latch is a separate company, and Arrowroot, and they're both still going?
They're both going, and we have a baby line now. We've got a lot going on at our house. Yeah.
Didn't EA already have enough to do?
Yes, dude. Yes.
But that is really cool. I'm not. Yeah.
Yep.
Emmy
what
actually
a dick, Josh.
had made
You're such a dick.
I am. I'm a giant dick. Hey, Andy, I'm just gonna own it, and now we're like, okay, man, I'm a dick.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
just
talk about it.
Go forward knowing that we're both dicks. It's great.
I love this.
Emmy had actually made a comment at one point that was like, and this was pre-Olive, I think even. It was like, I love EA's dresses. I wish they came in maternity sizes. And now they do, folks.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
But no, I think, I honestly do think that company is so cool. Both of those now. I didn't know about Latch.
Yeah.
And so in a perfect future, where maybe that took off to where it was supporting your family, you would have a different role in that. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. We'll see.
Wait, so that brings up, I just want to, I don't know how much longer you want to go here, Josh, but so, I mean, James, given all we talked about and how your trajectory is toward communication and stuff like, so what do you want to do in the future then, now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm currently director of operations at the church, and I feel like we're building some healthy systems to get them in a good place. So I know I want to do that, and I don't know how long that's going to take, but I know that that's like the thing that's right in front of me. Is I got to set them up with some good systems, and then beyond that, I'm pretty open. Like Josh was saying, I'd love to work with my wife and just do this clothing company thing with her. But yeah, man, I'm fairly open. I like looking at the next 2 years and going like, okay, I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do there.
Sure.
And then beyond that, we'll see. Not in like a stoner way. It's just like,
oh yeah, well, yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So if I think I have a decent idea of what's going to happen in the next 2 years, that feels fine to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that you did copywriting for a little bit. I mean, that sounds like the perfect place for someone who wants to just clearly communicate ideas to people. Or so what, like, was that a good situation? And is that something you'd want to go back to in the future or not?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was employee 5 at that company, and they're like at like 150 now. They've raised $35 million. I quit like right before all this stuff happened, so that was really good. That was an interesting experience. That my 2 bosses there were the most demanding bosses I've ever worked for. And I think I learned more in that year than I've ever learned business-wise for anything.
And I'm just curious, were those like friends who were like, hey, you should come work with us?
No,
and then not at all?
Complete strangers.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful for my time there. But I ended up becoming director of content and customer support there. I was writing less copy than I thought I was going to be doing. But to answer your question, Andy, I think, let's say that in 2 years, I'm like, okay, I feel like the church is in a good place. I'm going to head back into the business world. Working at an ad agency has been something that's like, yeah, I think that would be great.
Nice.
You
watch Mad Men while you do that stuff with your wife and do dresses and stuff?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well,
it's been a good talk.
Whew.
Yes.
How long have we been going here, guys?
Who cares?
It's probably, yeah, we don't even check the clock.
All right, Josh, I'm big on follow through, so we have to do the traffic thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, please. Thanks for reminding
There
me.
are people who've been listening. They're like, when is he going to do the traffic
Yeah,
thing?
they're going to turn
Yeah.
the podcast off as soon as you're done with this. So it's
I
good
bet
it's
they
later.
will.
Let's hear it.
In the show notes, you can just tip people off.
Oh, so wait. So first, give the background on, just a quick background on
Oh,
your
yeah.
history with radio.
Okay. My dad is the co-host of a nationally syndicated radio show called Family Life Today. I grew up around radio
FLT.
my entire life.
Nice.
Dude, you are killing it with that tonight. I love it.
Thanks.
I love it, AO. It's amazing.
We got to let Andy have his things, and,
His
and
little,
then,
like-
then he's happy in his
Yeah.
little corner.
Yeah. So, and then I worked for public radio throughout college. So I do the support for NPR comes from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
And then right out of college, a commercial radio station hired me, and they made me the news and traffic guy. And so I'd sit in a little room with no windows, and I'd call the police and be like, "What accidents do you have?" And then I'd go, "If you're on 430 southbound, look out on the right-hand side of the road. We got a 2-car pile up there. And hey, if you see anything going on, give me a call. Let me know. 501-401-0202. I'm James Lepine from the Citadel Traffic Network."
Oh, my God.
Unreal. You were one of those guys.
I
Dude,
love
I
it.
was. And you have to smile while you're doing it. It's a weird
Oh, yeah.
experience.
Wait,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
do you, just to get your voice to sound like that, you
To
got to
get
be
like
smiling?
the warm voice. Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah, now you know.
What,
Okay,
are you
hold
interested
on.
in doing any of that stuff anymore? Voice
I'd love
stuff?
to do voiceover stuff. Yeah, I'd love to. It's a really crowded marketplace. It's hard to get into.
Yeah, but with a voice like that, man,
Hey, I'm one in a million. I really am.
You-
There are a lot of people
absolutely.
with voices like me.
All right,
I mean
hold on.
I mean it.
Because I've got a decent radio voice too. Let me try one.
Oh, yeah.
Not traffic. I'm going to do a game show. Andy, you might have heard this one before.
Yes.
I don't know if I have, but I'm excited.
This comes from one of my favorite films, Quiz Show by Robert Redford,
Okay.
directed by Robert Redford. And now, live from New York City, NBC presents 21, brought to you by Geritol, the cure for tired blood.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
You want to hear a good joke? Nobody speak. Nobody get choked. I've been
Why did
trying
we
to
go there?
Sorry, I don't know. I just love that line. I
was
love that
amazing.
line.
And like the way I was watching you doing it, and your mouth was moving, and your mouth was moving. That's not helpful.
Your
were like-
mouth was moving.
Yeah.
I was
you were
into
like,
it.
You were like popping with the. Yeah. It was a performance.
Amen.
Wow.
Brothers.
Well, both of you, kudos.
Thanks,
you got
Andy.
anything?
No,
I
I don't.
I
Come
couldn't
on.
sit here and hear you sing James's praises and then not show you my
Well,
chops
no,
as
that's
well.
fine. I mean, it is your podcast, so.
Yes, it is.
No, I'm not going
Ja-
to try something like that. No way.
Yeah. I've been so condescending to Andy
You
in this
have.
entire show.
It's okay. You guys can talk about it at the beginning of the next podcast.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll patch it up. Andy knows I love him. I just like
I know.
Have you ever explained why it's called Ink and Echo?
Nope. It's a mystery.
Oh.
No, we haven't.
We'll talk about it on the next episode of Ink and Echo.
Next time on Ink and
Next
Echo.
time. Yeah, there you go.
No, mostly I just think they're nice sounding syllables. That's
They are.
really.
Oh, did you name it?
No, I don't.
there was a long process
Yeah,
of
it was-
name ideas. I was like, ink and reverb, and Andy quickly like slapped me over text and was like, you can't use reverb in the name or otherwise guitar guys will be all over it.
He's
Yeah.
right.
Guitar boy.
Well, the Ink and Echo, it just sounds. Echo,
Yeah,
reverb.
it's
it sounds so
syllabically
clumsy.
satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Andy?
that's. What?
I'm ready for an internet comment.
Okay.
What can I say? Internet comments, I get them every day.
All right. Who's laughing and why?
I just really like that song, Your Last Note. Die, die, die.
Thanks. All right, so I'm kind of stretching the limits of this segment right now because I don't really want to talk about me or even my comments. and I'm twisting it to fit a topic that I wanted to talk about anyway. So this is so here I'm on a couple forums on Facebook of creative people who post things that they do, and I have noticed it seems like a lot of people are really into self-deprecation. And so just today, someone in this group posted a link to their music album, and all they did was link to it and then say the sentence, "Tell me how much I suck." So that's what I want to discuss today, because I've seen that a lot where people seem to they present something they've done, and they present it very negatively, but they're still presenting it to you as in like, please listen to this, but it's very bad. This is a very bad thing that I've done, but please listen to it. And I've been thinking about, because it seems like that sort of self-deprecation is like basically a shield against criticism. Because if someone was like, "Yeah, that sucks," you're like, "Well, I told you it would, so don't worry about it."
It's reverse psychology, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just, it's letting them down beforehand. Just not waiting for someone to tell them it sucks, but just telling everybody up front that it sucks. But I just think it's fascinating, and I was curious to see what both of you guys think, because it seems like there's a spectrum of self-deprecation on one side, complete saying what everything you do is terrible, and then the other side is just complete arrogance, where you're just like, everything I do is just the best. I have nothing to improve. You're an idiot if you don't like what I do, kind of thing. So I think the spectrum itself is interesting, but I was also thinking, and I don't know if there is any connection here, but the way you, if because I've had to learn to not do this sort of thing over time, and I think you have too, Josh. But I wonder if it's at all tied to, the feeling, which we've already discussed, sort of just basic inadequacy in what we create, if these two concepts are related at all. So I'm talking too much, but
yeah.
But really, one of the biggest questions is, if you're looking at that spectrum of self-deprecation to arrogance, like what? Obviously, the middle point is where you should be, but what does it look like to be there? Because I feel like this guy's annoying. Like, you should just put your stuff up and be like, "Here's something I did. Would love to hear feedback," as opposed to be like, "Well, let's tell me how much I suck." It's like, that's not how you should be presenting it. So like, what in your mind? What is the the compromise and being in the middle there?
Well, so at least to what that guy's saying, like, I suck, but here it is. It seems, I think part of that comes with just age and maturity.
Yeah.
That the older you get, hopefully you stop saying things like that. But also him, through saying that, my assumption would be he's going, yeah, actually, I think this is all right. Please, somebody tell me that, oh, no, you don't suck. It's really good.
Right. He wants someone to disagree.
Yeah. And so arrogance isn't going to get anybody anywhere, probably in a setting like that. So my thought is that, again, with age and with experience and doing sort of these sort of things, I'm not saying I have the experience, but just you learn to just kind of do what you do, and your own style, and you put it out, and you have the self-confidence to be okay if people shit all over it, or if they're like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. And just kind of take it all in the middle, and not think you're amazing and not think you're crap, but just be like, okay, some people think this is all right.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the big lessons I've learned over the years is I do remember in the beginning not being able to take compliments well. Like, I would always basically try to argue with people who said what I did was good and tell them kind of why it wasn't, in a way. Whereas now that's just rude. It's like someone giving you a gift and you being like, oh, well, I don't actually want this. Like, you please take it back or something, What I've learned to do is, even if I think, even still, people will say, oh, I love this. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, I am actually kind of embarrassed about that thing now. But you just kind of say, well, thank you. And that's it. You just say thank you when people say nice things, which is a weird lesson to have to learn, but just say thank you when people say nice things about what you do instead of correcting them.
Yes. Because it doesn't do anything for either party.
No.
If someone already likes it and you're like, oh yeah, but I really was unsatisfied with this and I could have done this better, they're just kind of like, okay.
Right. Yep. And to maybe sort of bring it back to stuff we were talking about before, I think one of the keys to being able to navigate this whole thing and figuring out people's responses to your work and whatever, as I do, I feel very strongly that if you are creating art in that basically selfish way that we were talking about, and you can say, well, I created this for me, it's what I wanted to make, so you have a lot more power to, when people say negative things about it, you can be like, well, that's fine, it's not for them, it was for me, basically. Whereas if I think there's a lot of instances of people creating art because they see what other people are doing and they think, well, that's what I should be doing, and I need to do it this way because this person did it that way, or I want to gain fans or get some accolade or something. When you have any of those motives, then this stuff is going to be terrible to navigate. It's going to destroy you. Like the nice comments are just going to blow your head up even bigger, and then the negative comments are just going to destroy you, because that's what you're living for at that point, is people's opinions when you're not doing it for yourself. Does that sort of make sense?
It does.
So that's what I wanted to talk about there. I didn't want to talk about me or my comments.
No, that's nice, because it was a little different than the previous episodes have been.
Yeah.
James, I kind of hijacked the answer to Andy's question. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I didn't even know if I was allowed in this part.
Oh, yeah, please be quiet. Sorry.
I thought the interview was over, so I just needed
Shush, James.
Pull his mic.
Dude, you just summed it up perfectly. Like, I feel like we've come full circle on identity stuff. Like, whenever people say something about your thing, whether they say a good or a bad thing, if you don't find your identity in what people think about the thing that you made,
that's a more concise way to say what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's great. No. You're communicating clearly, dude.
Clear communication.
Yeah, listen to you. So, well, this has been fun, man. You've been a good guest.
Have I been your best guest so far?
Oh, we can't pick favorites. They're like our children.
Yep.
Oh.
They're like our little babies. We almost have as many babies as Andy has.
Almost. We're getting there.
You have 4 kids?
I have 4 kids.
Nice.
Yeah. Totally.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, that's our show. It's been a great Ink and Echo. And
all right, James, do you have anything else you want to tell people to go to?
I do not. I want to say thanks for having me on. And it's been fun.
Okay. Well, thank you, James.
Andy, cut out that part where I did the Run the Jewels line, because nobody's going to know what that is.
I did it with you. Did you not hear that?
No.
Yeah, I sung it with you.
Thanks for doing that. Okay, go. Leave it in. Andy, cut out the part where cut out all the cuss words and cut out where I sing.
Dun, 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 dun. Da-da-da.
Here's the thing. I drank my beer already.
Dun, 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 dun.
I drank my beer already.
Dun, 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 dun.
I drank my beer already.
Dun, 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 dun.
I drank my beer already.
Dun, 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 dun.
I drank my beer already.